Okay, assalamu alaikum. Today we will be actually having this lesson for both third and fourth graders. So even though the things that I'm going to be talking about, they apply to both classes, but your assignments are going to be a little bit different. So today I will be talking about the essays and how you could write different essays, but of course you're not going to be writing essays. You'll be actually writing paragraphs. So I'll go about the homework as you guys are used to it. I will have it typed up for you guys on the Google Doc and it will be shared via Google Classroom, but I'll also go over it a little bit in details towards the end of this video. So some of you guys did go through the homework that you were supposed to be doing for last week. Part of it you did not have to submit. So that was the one that actually went online and you just kind of like did some reading and you try to answer some questions. So that was actually to lead to what I'm going to talk about today. So if you did your work last week, you'll have an idea about some of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about today. But of course, for the other ones, I'm going to get a little bit in detail so you guys understand what each topic is going to be covering. So when it comes to writing essays, and we've done this in class, okay, so most of the stuff that I'll be talking about, we have already done it at the school. It's just now we're bringing everything together in addition to the vocab that you guys have been learning both at the school and the ones that I sent to you last week. We'll try to put together all of these elements and inshallah you guys will be able to produce good things. I'm very proud of you overall. You guys have been doing great work. Keep up the work. For those who haven't been submitting your assignment, make sure that you do submit your assignment on time because you'll be losing points if you don't. So the first thing that I want to talk about is what we call informative essay. This is something that you guys, especially for third graders, this is something that actually was covered last week. So an informative essay, think about it this way. Informative, the one word that should come to your mind is information. So what you're doing, you're sharing information, facts, okay? So a fact is something that has been established, something that has evidence. The difference between a fact and an opinion is what you think. A fact is an actual thing, okay? So for instance, I would write you guys an email, or I could actually write you a letter and I could say this. I could say, today the temperature is 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, that is a fact based on what I either read on, either a website or on the news, like in newspapers or whatever it might be, or I might have watched it on the TV. So it's a fact. This is something that's exactly how the weather is. The temperature is about 60 degrees. That's a fact. That's information that I'm sharing with you. Now, an opinion is if I tell you, I think today is a really nice day. Now, maybe you disagree because you have your own opinion, okay? So that's the difference between a fact and an opinion. Okay, so when you're writing an informative essay, first of all, you have the intention of sharing some information with the reader, and you do not want it to be opinion-based, meaning it's not what you think. It's what's actually either happening or happened. For instance, I can tell you another information is New York is fourth graders. If you guys remember, you did the regions for this last week. So Northeast is one of the regions, right? So New York is a northeastern region. So that's a fact. That's not my opinion. That's a fact. Okay. So that's as far as what we call an informative essay. Okay. The information that or the things that you want to put in there is actually to tell the reader about something. Okay. Now there's another type of essay, and this is a narrative essay. A narrative essay, it's a narration. And if you guys remember, a narrator is the one who actually writes the story, is the author of the story, right? So in a narrative essay, what you're doing is actually you're telling your story. Now, in your story, for instance, or what happened, right, that could actually have a combination of both facts and opinions, okay? So it's based on how you see it or how you heard it. It doesn't necessarily mean that everything that you're mentioning is a fact, but it's just what you think happened. Okay, so for instance, I could tell you today I woke up for sahur. I had my sahur. It was a light sahur. I After that, prayed with my family, Fajr, and then some of us went back to sleep, and some of us went and read Quran, and then we woke up in the morning, all of us, and then we continue with our day. Okay, I could continue in the story and tell you everything that happened. I'm narrating to you what happened. Okay, so for instance, I said my breakfast was light. Maybe for some of you guys, or my sahur was light for some of you guys. Maybe it was not that light of a sahur. See, so or it could be too light for some of you guys. So that's an opinion. Even though I did tell you some facts, but also I had opinions. But it's like a story. Okay, I'm telling you a story. So then you have what we call a persuasive essay. A persuasive essay is when you try to persuade someone or try to convince them. So for instance, some of you might try to convince me that the online learning that is happening now is better than being at school, but others might disagree and they might say no. Actually, being at school is better than doing online schooling. Now, it depends on which side you're taking. You have to persuade the person who's listening to you. So what do? You try to use evidence. You try to use words that actually will get that person more interested in your point. For instance, you compare things. That's actually what you try to do. So for instance, if you're trying to persuade me to believe that one is better, then the word better, those words with ER, better, you could, even say, will make you happier, right? So and so on and so forth. So what you're doing is you're going to give me all the evidence and or the arguments to actually convince me that what you are going to put in front of me, whether again it's a choice of choosing whether I want to continue with online learning or I want to go back to school, or maybe you have a favorite food and you try to tell me this is the best food, right? This is also another way that you could persuade someone. The EST words like best, right? Best is one of them. Sometimes you say the smartest person if you want to convince me that, or smartest decision, and so on and so forth. That's the attempt that you are putting forward to convince me of something. Okay, so that's persuasive essay. Usually, if you guys remember, we actually did some different essays. We did a few essays, and even we actually had activities, especially for fourth graders, when you guys were trying to argue for things and you try to push for specific things. You try to persuade the other side to accept your idea or even embrace your idea. So that's actually, now you could actually do that in an essay format, not just talking. Actually, if you think about it, also third graders, same thing. Whenever you want, like for instance, you want an Xbox or you want a toy, you persuade your parents. You try to convince them that, what, really you want to buy me this and I really need it. So you try to give them all the arguments and you tell them how great it is to have that toy and how it'll make you smarter, because all parents want their kids to be smarter. So you're persuading your parents. Okay, this persuasive essay. Now, if you guys remember when I said in persuasive essay, you could also do a comparison when you try to make something look better. Now, you have to be careful. There's also another style that you could use, and not necessarily to convince someone that this one is better compared to the other one. You could actually do the comparison and the person will decide. And this compare and contrast. When you do compare and contrast, for instance, let's go to fourth graders. Fourth graders, and actually this will be part of your assignment. You have 5 regions, right, in the US. You could try to convince me that one is the best. That's you trying to persuade me to actually side with you and your opinion that one region is better than all of the other regions, right? One of the ways you could do it is actually by comparing it and highlighting all the better and best qualities that that region has that the other regions do not have. That's one way you could do it. Another way I could ask you and say, which part, by the way, is part of the assignment for fourth graders, I could ask you and say, so these are the 2 regions that you watched during the assignment for last week. Can you please compare and contrast these two regions. I'm not asking you to tell me which one is better. I'm just telling you, do you see similarities and differences? Okay, when you're comparing and contrasting, what you're doing is you're looking for those differences. You say, for instance, this one is hotter than the other one, or you also could be looking for the similarities, and you could say, well, for instance, the rainfall is the same in both regions, right? The amount of rain that falls in the year is the same, or the level of humidity is the same, or maybe the size is the same, right? So you say, well, these are the similar things, okay? They have these things in common, but also they have XYZ things that are actually different. One is one way, the other one is different. It's not the same. Okay, so this is when you actually, what you're doing is actually you're comparing and contrasting. Okay, so now to go over the assignment. So for third graders, your assignment is going to be focusing mainly on Ramadan. Okay, so, and you're not going to cover anything else but Ramadan, which is, I believe, is going to be easy for you guys to do. And you're going to write different paragraphs in each one, actually have an exact question for each one. You're going to answer each question in a paragraph, and you have to follow the instructions. If I ask you for information, so you're looking for facts, okay? When I ask you about a narrative, you're going to tell me how is your Ramadan, a typical Ramadan day. And then I could ask you if you try to persuade me to do good deeds, right? So you're going to give me, the evidence, and you're going to use words that will make me feel more interested in not just listening, but actually doing what you're going to tell me to do, right? As far as the rewards are concerned. So just make sure that you guys focus on that. For every single question, you have to give me one paragraph answer, and make sure that you have it done the correct way. Now, for fourth graders, what you're going to be doing is, if you guys remember, you had those summaries that you did from last week. So what you're going to do is I'm going to ask you specific questions, okay? And again, I have them written down, so you guys will, even if you miss some of the questions in this video, you guys will find them on the Google Doc. I've always done it this way. I put those questions in there so you guys can read them and go back to them. So what you're going to do is actually you're going to give me information about, specific regions, right? So it's going to be informative. Okay, you're gonna have to give me facts. I don't want your opinions. Okay, in that single paragraph that asks about information, you're going to tell me information as if I've never heard about that region, and you're going to give me all the facts. Okay. You are also going to compare and contrast two regions. Okay, going to compare and contrast two regions. You're also going to tell me which region is the best region. Okay. Now, when you do the best region, also it's in writing there, you're not going to use the same two that you compared, okay? Because I don't want you guys to do the same and kind of like you'll be repeating yourself, okay? So again, compare and contrast. When you do that, you're not trying to convince me which one is better. You're just telling me, here are the similarities and here are the differences, okay, when you compare the two regions. But when it comes to telling me, again, you're going to pick two other regions, because remember, we have a total of 5. When you are going to pick 2 regions, for instance, or you could compare 3 or 4 to convince me that one of them is the best, then you're going to highlight the things that you think makes your region of choice better than the other region or the other regions if you pick to compare it to more than one. And then in the narrative part, you're going to tell me where you live, which I hope all of you guys will agree in one region, because we all live in this one region. And you're going to tell me how life is. Okay, so then you're going to give it in a narrative way, how you're living. For instance, you could talk to me about, for instance, the seasons in this region, the one that we're in. For instance, the places that we have and things like that. So you're going to tell me like in a narrative way, like places that you've been to, places that you like in this region, what you like about this region as you're living your life. Okay, so that's going to be like more of like a story. You could tell me how your year is actually spent in this region, right? So in the summer I do this, for instance, in the winter we do these. So you could actually have it in that way. Okay, so and then of course you are going to have the list of vocab that we learned before I want you guys to use those words. You have them in your notebooks. We worked on them throughout the year. You should have a very long list now, mashallah. The other thing that I have to mention is when you are writing your paragraphs, remember, you're connecting and transitioning words. You cannot just have those choppy paragraphs where I kind of have to connect the sentences myself, or try to find what's missing. Okay, so please pay attention to what you're writing. Make sure that you write it and then go over it. Proofread it, read it one more time, read it for a second time if you have to, so you can give the best quality of writing. Mashallah, I did make comments on the essays that you guys did last week. Some actually, I'm sorry, the week before, because this week actually is due today, so I'm waiting till everybody submits. There are some few that I didn't make comments yet. I will be putting those comments, inshallah. And I'm not putting your grades, guys, yet. I'm choosing not to put the grades so you can focus more on the comments, so you guys can improve and not be too worried about the grades. So overall, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I'm very proud of you guys. I'm enjoying reading your essays and the work that you guys have been doing. So please keep it up, and make sure that if you have any questions, you ask, inshallah. Okay, so inshallah, I will be uploading the assignment. All the questions that I mentioned are going to be written on that assignment, so you guys will we'll go back to them, inshallah, and we'll be able to answer them. Don't ask your parents to help you. They can maybe like give you feedback, but they should not be the ones writing your essays, okay? Because I'm noticing that some of the essays are too advanced for your level, so I know that there has been help from your parents. I did not comment on that, but I'm actually aware of it. So please make sure that your parents, they can help you fix your sentences if they feel that it needs to be fixed, but you have to use your own words, okay? And again, especially fourth graders, we learned about how you could actually use one word instead of another one word that sounds more advanced and more formal. And this is something that you guys have to be doing. Third graders, the same thing. Please make sure that you are going to be using stronger words, more precise when it comes to statements that you want to make, fewer words if you could. Sometimes one word actually will replace 3 words. So instead of writing 3 words to explain yourself, you could actually do it in 1 word. So these are the things that I want you guys to do. And again, I cannot emphasize enough on this. The vocab that we have been learning, you have to use it in the assignment for this week and for the weeks to come. And of course, you will have a list of vocab that you guys will have to do. Okay, thank you. I want you guys to enjoy, inshallah, the rest or this week, inshallah, because this will be posted on Monday. So please make sure that also you continue to read Quran. I know, mashallah, many of you are fasting. Please continue to do that. I'm sure your parents are very proud of you. I am very proud of you. Make sure that you do pray. Make sure that you read Quran. If you're not able to read Quran as much as you want, try to listen to Quran. Okay, that's very important. And make sure that if you have some money that your parents might have given you, make sure that you donate. This is the best time that you guys can donate. All right. Assalamu alaikum, guys, and we'll talk to you soon.